I had a guest here in Prairie du Chien, and we went out to have dinner at Jones's Black Angus. And I walked in with my guest, and the ever-gracious host out there saw us come in and said hello, and she recognized that my guest wasn't from around here. As a matter of fact, it was Sandra Massey, and she's the NAGPRA officer for the Oklahoma Sauk Nation. And Angie, in her very friendly way, said, "So, to Sandra Massey from Stroud, Oklahoma, where's home?" And Sandra kind of looked at her for a minute and said, "Well, here. My people are from the Mississippi River, and when I come back to Wisconsin, I'm coming home." She's a member of the Sauk Nation, and a few years ago we began this sculpture park with the introduction of a figure of Black Hawk, the great Sauk war chief. Today we celebrate another Indian person, an Indian woman, who came home to this area in 1917 and spent the rest of her life. Now the Ho-Chunk, or the Ho-Shungra, are the people of the Big Wind, people of the Big Voice, you should say. And linguistically, they're related to the Iowa, the Odo, the Missouri tribes, the Osage, the Quapaw, the Omaha, the Kansas, the Paca, the Mandan, and all of the Siouan speakers. But they're the old voice. Theirs are the voice that speaks from the dim ages of time. Theirs is a voice that radiates from these magnificent effigy mounds and from their rock art. The Ho-Chunk were the original people whose voices were heard in this magnificent river valley. Now, beginning in the late 1820s, as more and more white settlers came to this area and as more and more conflict arose over land, over Ho-Chunk land, the Ho-Chunk people were forced to leave this area. And they traveled far. They traveled to Nebraska, they traveled to Minnesota, they traveled to South Dakota. But by the 1870s, those remnant Ho-Chunk that had remained in Wisconsin began to attract others to come back here. And by the 1880s, there were more and more Ho-Chunk people who were settling in Wisconsin, in the Black River Falls area, in the area of the Wisconsin Dells. The Ho-Chunk never completely left, and after 1881, they started coming back. So it's not unusual that in 1917 that Emma Big Bear and her husband Henry Holt would want to come home. And where they wanted to come home to was that area around effigy mounds, where their grandparents were, where their ancestors were. This was home, and Emma Big Bear was coming home. And that's what we really celebrate today, is this homecoming of this magnificent woman, a member of the Bear clan, that great traditional clan of chiefs. And Emma Big Bear lived here not as a proud woman per se, but as a humble woman, living in a traditional way, making her living, selling baskets, selling beadwork, living in a traditional way. One of my staff at the Villa Louis asked this week, what makes Emma Big Bear special? And it's this traditional commitment to traditional life. I like to say that she was into being an Indian when it wasn't cool to be an Indian in the 1940s, in the 1950s, and the 1960s. And she did it with such honor and with such pride. And she lived within the lifetime of many of us here. And that's what we celebrate today. And we're so pleased to have guests come down and help us do this, hopefully with voices and with memories that Emma Big Bear would find. I could invite Clayton Winnebagos to come forward along with our artists, and if you could help as well. Now is the moment we've been waiting for a long, long time. We get to meet Emma Big Bear in bronze, but let's come forward. Clayton's coming over here now. Let's see what we have. Long, long time. Pleasure to introduce Rosetta Halverson, who has some words about Emma Big Bear.
is written, and it's on the plaque. Emma Big Bear, her Indian name is Wakajazinga. She was born July 5th, 1869 in a cabin near Tomah, Wisconsin, and she died August 21st, 1968 in Waukon, Iowa. She was a Ho-Chunk, Winnebago woman of the Bear tribal family. She walked in silence, kindness, and humbleness. She was the daughter of Chief Big Bear and Mary Blue Wing. Emma was the wife of Henry Holt, also known as Floating in Air, and the mother of her only child, Emmeline. As a direct descendant of famed Winnebago chief Chief Decorah, she instilled in her bloodline the fortitude to be honest, strong in beliefs, and to march ahead, never complaining of the hardships that she may encounter or endure. Outliving her husband and daughter, Emma Big Bear made a living by selling her black ash baskets, beaded jewelry, and the ginseng that she collected. And also she made a living by accepting food and assistance offered by the great people, local people of Marquette and McGregor, Iowa. She didn't wander far from the graves of ancestors, and she lived out her days as the last in the tradition of the ancestors who inhabited the prehistoric site near the Effigy Mounds sacred space along the Mississippi River in northeast Iowa. And it's amazing that Emma Big Bear was born in the 19th century, and she lived out most of her life in the 20th century. And here it is, the 21st century, and we're honoring her. And a lot of us knew her or met her or saw her somewhere selling her baskets along the road. And we're just so honored to have Emma back home today.
Aaron Kramer and Mike Ulrich, if you could come forward at this time. The Mississippi River Sculpture Park is a City of Prairie du Chien park. The committee that helps raise money in Florence, who creates these magnificent sculptures, we do this as a gift to the people of Prairie du Chien. And it's our great pleasure now, Florence, if you would be willing to give over this beautiful lady to our city, represented here by our city administrator, Aaron Kramer, and Michael Ulrich, director of the City Parks and Recs Department.
Well, it certainly is my pleasure. And I'm very excited about all of the people that are here. I was very excited to get to know Emma Big Bear and the spirit of bringing her here and this gathering place and seeing all of you people here. And I will